How's it going, YouTube? It's your boy Optima, back with a brand new video, and today I wanted to bring you guys a deck showcase. This is something that I am well aware is in abundance on YouTube, but nevertheless, I plan on bringing a unique take to our deck showcases to make them worth watching. At the end of the day, I have to ask myself the question of why would you watch my deck showcases over someone else on YouTube? And the way I plan on answering that is through the unique way we will be approaching this. We will be featuring off-meta, unique, and just different takes on decks within Legends of Runeterra to make this a little bit different and also possibly even more fun for you all. I know there's definitely a huge demographic within Legends of Runeterra that loves seeing unique / different decks shake things up in the meta. So I hope that maybe we can actually accomplish that and just have a little fun with this here on YouTube. So thank you so much for watching. Your support as always means the world to me. And speaking of support, you can take that support further by hitting that like button on this video if you end up enjoying, as well as leaving a comment. I love hearing any feedback and just hearing your thoughts on the video. It means a lot to me, and I'll always comment back if you guys comment on the video. So please do that. It would mean a lot to me. And then also get subscribed up because we are doing 3 videos per week. That is the goal that we are going to continue to reach, even if it means getting some videos up a little later in the day due to adult responsibilities. But yeah, let's hop into today's video. And today's video is going to be featuring Kindred in Darkness, which is actually something that we haven't really seen yet with the recent Kindred buff. But nevertheless, due to the buff of Kindred, this is a actual idea that's worth exploring. So let's switch over to the deck builder and check that out. So here over on the deck builder, you could see some parts of the deck. So let's go over it. The first key point that I think is worth talking about is actually Otterpuss. Otterpuss obviously generates prank, and pranking was like the upon reveal was something that a lot of people were ready to raise some pitchforks for, just due to the fact that we don't have a lot of ways to get around like your hand actually being messed with. And on top of that, prank also reveals the card for the rest of the game after increasing its mana cost. So it is really impactful, and I would honestly say that after the Bandle City nerfs, a lot of people are not using Otterpuss in any decks, but I think any Bandle City, like some Bandle City decks can definitely use this card as a strong option, or there should be more Bandle City decks within the meta using Otterpuss due to its strong strengths as a card that's allowed to prank and also gives you a tune. Just a solid 1-drop, and especially in this deck due to the way it synergizes with the rest of the deck, which we'll get into. Next key point I wanted to discuss is Glimpse Beyond, and Glimpse Beyond actually has really good synergy in my opinion with Otterpuss. You will find yourself in scenarios where you want to go for Glimpse, but you don't know what's in your opponent's hand, and obviously while Otterpuss does not reveal your opponent's entire hand, it gives you a little bit more of an idea, especially if you're reading and trying to read and understand what's in your opponent's hand already throughout the game. You can maybe have an idea that, oh, now I'm finally have an opening for Glimpse due to seeing those 2 cards and then kind of have an idea with those other 2 cards. So I think there's great synergy between these two. Glimpse feels really bad when it gets denied, so it's a great way of hopefully getting those Glimpse Beyonds off. And obviously that's really big for Kindred, who loves using Glimpse as a way of enabling its mark effect. So I really like this synergy between those two, Otterpuss and Glimpse Beyond. From there, another key point on the deck is Twisted Catalyzer, and the thing to say is the same thing with all Darkness decks. It's just that you mulligan for this card. You absolutely mulligan for this card because its snowballing in the early game just makes Darkness so much more impactful in the later parts of the game. So I strongly believe in Twisted Catalyzer as an early game card that you should be mulliganing for in pretty much any and every matchup, just due to the way it enables the rest of the deck. From there, we're going to get into Kindred as the next card to talk about, and Kindred works with Darkness in a pretty solid way. Kindred allows you to kind of control the board a little better than Senna does. While Senna is great when you already either have Vygar on the field, because then you're just generating Darknesses that are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then Vygar is also getting closer to leveling up. But aside from when that's down, or when Twisted Catalyzer has hit the strike to your opponent 1 or 2 times, she could sometimes feel a little less impactful than you would want, and especially doesn't control the board well, due to also not wanting to trade with anything. But Kindred instead, you kill something with Kindred and then mark another card, that's 2 units down. That is really impactful, and Kindred just makes blocking so weird consistently for your opponent. At 4 mana, it's just so easy to get this card down now before your opponent can just easily remove it without losing a lot of tempo. And yeah, just applies a ton of pressure no matter what the state of the darkness is, which is really good in case you do low roll on the early game with darkness. So I think Kindred is a legitimate threat in the darkness archetype, and I could see more players shifting towards possibly even including it as at least a one of in their darkness decks. Furthermore, we do still have Senna as a one of. This is a deck that I actually took and I just refined it, and the main refine I did was just cutting one Kindred for Senna, due to the fact that I still think the way that Senna just generates so many darkness and continues to do it even the turn after she's summoned and attacks is just too impactful to not have her in the deck at all. And also, if you could somehow get 3 champions on the field, that would be insane, and you'd probably just win the game with having all 3 of those down. So I really like Senna still in this deck as a one-up to allow you to still snowball with darkness when you do have those really solid early games, or when you're in the late game and Vygar's still down and now you just need to generate darkness. I like the fact that she generates it just so easily, and yeah, I think she's still a really good card to include. The rest of the cards in the deck are very typical darkness cards that don't really need any extra explaining at all. Anyone who's played against and played this archetype kind of knows why any of the rest of these cards would be in there. We just need our rest of our darkness generators, our champ regeneration cards, and then we're all set. So that's pretty much the deck. I think it's really solid. Let's showcase some games with it, and that will be the end of it. I hope you guys enjoyed the game, and I really appreciate you tuning into the video. Okay, so we're here with our first game, and this is going to be against an archetype that I actually didn't know people were playing, which is Karma Kindred. But this is a deck that actually has a good amount of games on it. Since I was pulling up each of the decks we were playing against on Mobalytics to know what I was trying to play around. And yeah, this actually isn't the best matchup for us, just because that our deck is a deck that kind of wants to stall until Vygar is winning the game, but allowing our opponent to get a Karma down on turn 10 would probably just win them the game. So a really awkward matchup where we have to play a little bit more offensive than we generally would want to, but definitely one that's still winnable. So first things first, we do get a hand of Otterpuss, Vile Feast, and Dark Bulb Acolyte. Obviously, Ixtali Sentinel is too expensive for right now, and I know that my opponent's deck is not aggressive, so I know I don't really need Vile Feast either. I probably could have even mulled the Dark Bulb Acolyte as well, just considering that he's a little unimpactful early on when you haven't really done anything to either decrease the cost of darkness or have gotten any catalyzer hits down. Nevertheless, though, we continue to draw kind of like bigger units, no catalyzer, so we pretty much have to put this down. And if somehow this was still the way we drew if we mold it, then it was definitely better for us to keep this to keep Dark Bulb Acolyte in our early hand. And I just also like that Prank makes Dark Bulb Acolyte a little stronger due to it being a created card. So yeah, we see our opponent kill the Otterpuss just to get a unit down, which makes sense for them. We are going to see the Nopify and a Ruination. Ruination actually isn't bad for us as long as we get any of our cards like Rekindler or Miscall to get our champions back, because our champions are how we win the game. So I'm not really worried about Ruination. So I think making Nopify more expensive so that we can get our darknesses off is a lot more along the lines of what we want to be doing. So that is what we prank, and here I am going to just drop Kindred, just because of the fact my opponent being at 4 mana, I know his deck does not have access to anything that can take 3 damage off of Kindred right now. So dropping Kindred and just applying a ton of pressure with darkness right now seems like a good idea. So our opponent attacks with their elusive unit, and then our turn comes around and we attack with both of our units in order to just wipe our opponent's board. My opponent's also going to put their Kindred down, and I would say I'm not, unless his hand, he didn't have anything else to do, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of that. My opponent's Nopify does cost 4 mana though, so there's not really a ton of reason to just let my darkness get Nopified here. So we will hold off on that just in case we want to decrease the cost of the darkness before playing it. I also didn't want to tap too low on mana and allow our opponent to feel really comfortable trying to enable his Kindred in some way. Skipping this block is obviously a very easy, quick call to make, just because of the fact that allowing anything to die to that Kindred there, which would have likely been the Stilted Roadmaker, would have obviously enabled the mark, and then my own champion in Kindred would have been marked. So a very easy block to make. Here, I just throw the Darkness out, not wanting to just kind of see if my opponent planned on doing anything else before I started making some plays, but knowing that they're on like a Karma deck, it doesn't really make sense for them to do anything like that. So no big deal. Our opponent does just pass, very much so, letting us know that they're playing for the late game. So Dark Bulb Acolyte here just to get another Darkness and start applying that pressure on Kindred seems like a good call to me here. Too much mana to just throw down our Vygar, and even though we have 2 Vygars, it's still not worth just allowing your champions to just run face first into like Vengeance and cards of that same manner. And my opponent can Ruination here, and that was actually the biggest thing I'm playing, trying to play around here, is Ruination. And considering my opponent did not go for that Notify there on the Darkness, a Ruination coming was extremely obvious. So no big deal there. It would have been so nice if we still had mana for Vygar and weren't at 3, but I don't think a situation like that would have, the Ruination wouldn't have got played unless I played the Darkness, so there wouldn't have been a scenario where that would have happened. Here though, we can easily get our Vygar down, and the top deck of Miscall was amazing, because it's all about Vygar now, Team Vygar. So here, we can't put any other units down, so yeah, just throwing our Darkness out right now, even though I don't have a ton of Darkness generation, is just best so that we just kind of like use a little bit of our mana. Our opponent doesn't know that, and if I was to just not use the Darkness, that'd maybe give him some intel on our hand not being that impactful right now, so I just don't want to give that kind of intel. So here, we're going to go Stilted Roadmaker, just because Ixtali Sentinel here just doesn't seem like the best when Ixtali is just like so impactful as getting a lot of damage with Darkness down. So I thought we could just kind of hold off on Ixtali and go with Stilted and just block into this River Shaper. So that obviously this card doesn't get off multiple attacks and draw multiple spells. Definitely not blocking the other unit though, just obviously don't want to lose our Vygar. Our opponent is going to shoot Vygar though, and this is going to work out great for us. We have the Miscall, and going for that right here is just extremely good for us. There's no reason not to go for it, so that is what we're doing. Here though, it's probably in my best interest to just end the turn and not use this. Oh no, I can go for that and go for the Vile Feast. So it takes me a bit to decide that I want to go for that, but then I decide that, yeah, getting rid of just a unit that turns into such a strong elusive in the late game is probably in our best interest, especially with this only being at 10 Nexus health. So I decide that that was well worth it, and with that unit gone, we can actually go for an open attack that can possibly force our opponent to waste some resources, and that's exactly what we see with a Conclusive Palm coming out, and those are the things we want to see, our opponent using his resources so that he doesn't have mana for things like Vengeance to kill Vygar again and stuff like that. So that's what we see here. Next up though, we're gonna go for Ixtali. May go for Otterpuss first, but I think we go for Ixtali Sentinel. And with it being at 4, we can throw that into the big elusive unit again, just because the 3/2 can just be chump blocked so easy, and there's not really it's not really a threat. Whereas Scattered Pod just becomes such a strong elusive unit that, yeah, once again, we want to get the damage down on Scattered Pod. We do have a leveled Vygar, and with another Vygar in hand, I'm feeling pretty good about the position we're in. We are running low on resources, and that is something this deck will possibly struggle with. So if you find yourself doing that a lot, maybe you could throw in a Hidden Pathways, just because your only draw really is the Glimpse Beyond, which once again is why that card's such a big deal and why having Otterpuss to help you get those glimpses off is big. Here though, I know that he can possibly eventually get a pack your bag, so possibly making the go hard more expensive could have been helpful, but I still think with our win con being darkness, we want to stop all the cards that actually stop our darkness, and that's going to be Noplify. So let's make that Noplify just extremely expensive on our opponent's end. So here, let's start shooting the Nexus. We have a leveled Vigard. It's time to start shooting the Nexus, so that is what we do. And now it's just all about living. We're just trying to live through these scattered pods. So here, I'm not quite ready to use Minimorph until a little bit more pressure is being applied. I didn't know if this opponent had things teched in, such as, or not really teched in, but just had ways to boost up the attack of Scatterpod. So I just wanted to wait for that before I Minimorph so he could waste resources. Here though, we're going to see one of 3 Go-Hards used on Vigar. So our opponent getting all those Go-Hards finally, getting them going. So now we definitely are going to have to look out for Pack Your Bags, as that was 3 being played, and then our opponent puts down Faded Icon. Here we have the we have the darkness. We could just throw that at our opponent's Nexus. Don't even wait, just do it immediately. As there's also just not a great attack here for us, so there's not a ton of reason for us to attack. And that's when we're going to see the Pack Your Bags, which is, definitely nerve-wracking because it doesn't just kill your units, it deals 5 to everything. So here, we're going to absolutely want to go for the Withering Well so that we could kill off 2 units in the Fading Icon and the unit it enables, and also get some healing because we will absolutely use it. So that's where I probably actually should have attacked there just to play around that card there, because we really could have used the Ixtali Sentinel lifesteal that turn. So yeah, definitely a misplay by me there, not just attacking into that board state, knowing that there was a high chance our opponent was going to draw the rest of the Go Hard. Our opponent was going to draw Pack Your Bags there. So definitely a misplay, which makes this game so much more scary. Here though, we are losing, so having this Minimorph in hand is going to be a huge deal, because that is actually going to allow us to live on just 1. And looking at this deck on Mobalytics, I know that there's not a single card that deals Nexus damage other than Pack Your Bags. So this allows me to feel like, okay, we're living and we should be able to live at least until our opponent's next attack. So it's all about living until that attack. And this is where the other miscall top deck is going to be the best thing we could have ever seen. Our opponent taps completely under in order to kill our Vigar. And if they would have actually, if we just wouldn't have gotten this miscall, this could have been terrible. But instead, living on 1, going for the miscall, getting another darkness, and that is going to be game. And that was exactly what we need, as you even see the emote from our opponent. So what a hype first game on this deck. That was absolutely insane. Wild game. Alright, so in game number 2, we're going to be up against Zed Viego. So definitely an interesting deck that I haven't seen a ton of, due to the fact that people are choosing Kindred over Thresh as a partner with Viego, and definitely not, why am I forgetting his name now? But yeah, definitely not this champion. So, yeah, absolutely a very interesting deck, to be against Zed. How did I forget Zed's name? But yeah, definitely not Zed. So yeah, I think this is definitely an interesting one. Having Catalyzer in the opener is really good, and I think even Stilted Roadmaker in the opener is a pretty good one as well, as getting those darknesses cheaper is a big part of your game plan as well. So I like those 2 cards. Withering Well seems a bit slow for the early game, other than if Zed was to get going really hard, but I feel like we have a lot of tools to disrupt Zed, so I'm not that afraid of him with this deck, thankfully, as Zed can be very scary against a lot of other decks. So, and also getting Stress Defense makes me feel even better about that. Here we're going to go Twisted Catalyzer, and this is just so great for us as our opponent just doesn't have anything in the early game. So this lets me know, especially with Stress Defense, that no matter what he tries to do here, other than stun us, we are going to get off and attack with Catalyzer. But he does have that Concussive Palm, and that's going to stop us. Here I could have went for a couple of things, but there was really no need to do anything else that turn and reveal any other cards in my hand. So I just pass. Next up, though, I am going to go Stilted Roadmaker, as my opponent has three power attackers, and those will not be able to kill Stilted Roadmaker, so it kind of nullifies this attack strongly, which incentivizes my opponent to go for the card that changes your regular unit into an ephemeral unit and takes that tag off of theirs. Thankfully, we had Vile Feast for that, so that turned out to be really strong for us and a really bad turn for our opponent. Here I'm just going to open attack, especially with another Catalyzer in hand. I know we're going to still be able to further get this darkness down, and I'm honestly now just thinking of Viego and the way that Viego is going to like make all of our attacks terrible after this turn. So this feels like a great turn to just get an attack down. Our opponent's so afraid of Catalyzer. Man, does this card cause people to just do crazy things. Goes for another Concussive Palm, but I'm just going to throw down another Catalyzer, and those Concussive Palms are just going to feel like they didn't actually do anything other than just get him units down that I can easily just get rid of. So yeah, unless he's going to start killing Catalyzers, this isn't looking great for him. Here, he does finally get the Viego down, making me feel great about going for that open attack on the previous turn. And now we can go for Kindred, and with him tapped at just 2 mana, I know he can Vile Feast, but still getting going for a glimpse here seems great to just start getting rid of his cards. He's trying so hard not to enable darkness, and I'm not sure just why he's trying that hard, as I don't think his deck is that bad into darkness. So probably some kind of tunnel vision by my opponent here. We're going to kill that unit. And because it happened before the turn in, the ephemeral unit will die, making our next attack really strong just with a full board and getting all this darkness going. And I know I have Stress defensive hands, so I'm not afraid of attacking with Kindred into the Viego. And our opponent's just like, nope, I've played this terribly. You have so much going on. I don't like the state I'm in. And obviously with that attack, the mark was going to go on Viego. Right, and our last opponent for matches with this Kindred Darkness deck is going to be a Spiders deck. So here, we don't really get the best opener. I really don't like the double Glimpse Beyond right now. Yes, we want card generation, but we need units more than anything in this matchup early on. So yeah, I get rid of those. Pokestick is great though. Tons of 1 health high attack units. So we definitely want Pokestick. Our opponent having the 3 attack 1 drop is something you just have to expect. If they didn't have that, then they'd probably have the 2/1 that also deals 1 to the Nexus. So just plenty of things. Expected that they would have something to hit us there. Thankfully, we did draw another unit in Catalyzer, which is really good for us. And if my opponent for some reason put down Elise or something like that, I would have attacked there. But knowing that there's not really any reason to trade with the 2/3, I'm just going to pass on this attack. Getting Death Sonata in the opener did suck though, but getting an Otterpuss kind of makes up for it, as well as the Vile Feast. Just really good defensive tools for us in this matchup, especially Otterpuss. Otterpuss can make the Decimate more awkward and just more expensive, can make Stalking Shadows more expensive. Otterpuss is really strong here, and also is just really good at just chumping also too into the units that aren't fearsome attackers. Here though, our opponent does go all in on this attack turn, trying to push tons of damage. We did get that Vile Feast though, so that allows us to easily get rid of his most impactful attacker. Full attack here with the full board, but we can actually block everything here and also get a Glimpse Beyond off. So this looks great to me. I like what I see here. Really easy block for us. And yeah, more card generation, which we need now. We don't want to get too low on resources, because right now the biggest thing we really want is healing. We don't have healing. There's no Ixtali Sentinel right now. There's no Withering Well right now, and there's no Kindred to just start like applying that crazy pressure. So yeah, we're missing out on a lot of things we really want at this point now though. Nevertheless though, I'm going to immediately go for Darkness, just because this is like a turn where you would see things like Stalking Shadow. Knowing that, I had a hunch, and it does look like he has Stalking Shadow in his hand. We are able to make that more expensive, and that's great. Yes, we could have put Vulnerable on the I think that's Sorbator, Legion Sorbator that he put down. I may be wrong that's there, so don't quote me. We could have put vulnerable on that, but I don't think it would have been worth it. So yeah, instead, let's make the Stalking Shadows more expensive, because that's kind of how this deck retools and refills on like getting more units again, since it doesn't have draw. And now, seeing the Elise come down, I need a fearsome blocker, and I can get that with this Acolyte if I use the prank. So I will just use the prank again and make that Stalking Shadows even more expensive. And now that Stalking Shadows will be too expensive to enable the Stingy and Onlooker next turn. So obviously pass, and now we have a decent block here, as we can block the Elise and block the Sorbator. But the Spider and the 2/3 will go unblocked. Opponent locks it in, and we did finally draw Kindred, so that is a good tool for starting to get some pressure down. So yeah, we're just gonna throw Kindred down. Our opponent can't afford the Stalking Shadows, as we know, so we'll see what that top deck was, and it was Decimate, which was one of the worst cards our opponent could have top decked there. If it would have been like another Stingy and Onlooker, or even Doom Beast, that would have been so good for us. Just because he didn't have any way to enable the Nightfall. So having Decimate there allows him only having a few cards in his hand to not feel as bad. So yeah, a little unfortunate on our end there that card was Decimate. Here though, I'm just gonna immediately go for Pokestick. Just to, like, I know the Spider isn't that impactful, but I really need to draw cards here. And I don't want to just like pass and then maybe he'll pass and then just go on his attack turn. Because obviously the mark is a round in effect. So our opponent, there is a good chance that he would just like pass. Here though, I don't want to waste the 3 damage of the darkness. And I know that it's unideal to get Acolyte down without first using the darkness. Which I probably should have done. Just use the darkness and then get Acolyte down. Yeah, that was actually probably better, but I kind of wanted to keep my mana up, so here I'm just going to attack first. Opponent does finally go for that 7 mana Stalking Shadows. And we are going to get Acolyte down, because now there's nothing to use the darkness on. So yeah, I probably should have just, rather than attacking with Kindred, I should have used the darkness and then went Acolyte. That was probably a better play there, so probably a misplay there on my end. Our opponent is going to go Stingy in first. He is fishing to be able to enable the rest of his hand. So this kind of tells us that he probably has a ton of Nightfall cards. And yes, there is the Doom Beast. That is what he picked off of a Stalking Shadows. So he definitely got the best card he could have got off of that 7 mana Stalking Shadows. So that kind of makes the 7 mana feel a little not as bad. And we continue to not draw Extali Sentinel or even a Withering Well. So definitely a little annoying, but we do still have tons of defensive tools to at least not allow our opponent to really get any attacks off. But yeah, we really want our healing now. Here though, we're just going to go for the glimpse, because we need to draw our healing. We are egregiously low, and now it's going to turn into does my opponent end up beating us through Decimate and possibly Noxian Fervor now. We are going to get that Kindred level up, though. That beautiful, beautiful level up. What a beautiful level up, though. Really underrated level up. And still, we did get Withering Well off of the Glimpse Beyond. I'm going to go Stilted Roadmaker, as the Aid of Destinata is just completely irrelevant right now. My opponent not having any board state, so really no reason to go for a card like Destinata. If he's not going to summon anything, then we take the attack, so that's what we do. My opponent, yeah, just doesn't play anything, and we're not going to Withering Well until we see damage coming our way, so I will hold off on that. Our opponent is going to put down some spiders, and with a Doom Beast coming, it is time to Withering Well, so I do go for that Withering Well now, and here is where we're going to see that Noxian Fervor, though, as my opponent will finally submit that card. Takes a bit, but he will finally submit it. Yeah, let's go a little forward. So yeah, you will see the Noxian Fervor, and then you see us go for the Withering Well. So now we're at 4. So it's all about Decimate now. Obviously, he couldn't afford it even if he had it in hand now. But yes, I am very afraid of Decimate now. I'm extremely afraid. Here though, we pretty much just go still to the Roadmaker. No champions have died. And our opponent has another Doom Beast, so now it's just all about, now he can even get a Noxian Fervor, and we will lose this game because I can't just kill a unit before the Noxian Fervor goes off. So we're not in a great position, and that's just due to only drawing Withering Well, getting Kindred a little late, and also not getting Extali Sentinel at all. So here we're going to have to go for the Death Sonata, because now it's all about just playing offensive. So we're trying to just win. Our opponent did get a Precious Pet, so definitely a pretty unimpactful draw for them. It will allow them to live here, though, if they block. And then he can hope he top decks Decimate this next turn. That is his win con. Because now Noxian Fervor won't win him the game because he doesn't have any units down. So you need, rather than Precious Pet, he wanted Noxian Fervor that last turn. Because now it's not a win con. He gets another Precious Pet, which couldn't be better for us. No Decimate, and that's pretty much going to end the game because we can just open attack and he won't be able to do anything other than go for, he could go for another Noxian Fervor. So Noxian Fervor is the win con here, but I can prank that, and I just want to see. And it looks like he drew a champion, so that is just going to be Elise in his hand, and that's going to be a win for us. So awesome games. 2 of them came so down to the wire, and it was also just funny to see how quickly I won the game against Zed Viego. So absolutely a deck that you guys should be playing, considering playing, and giving a chance. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. For now, this is Optima signing out. Peace out. You guys have a good one.